Well, it's wired and plumbed. Why don't we see if this thing starts? Hey, real quick before we start this video, a lot of you guys have been asking for team shirts. Finally, Autohaus has t-shirts, so it would really help out a lot if you supported the shop, got some merch, some shirts, stickers, support the media work, support me and my dog.
Check out that merch store so I don't starve you guys.
Okay, well, false alarm. All right, so if you guys followed along on Instagram Live last weekend, you saw Grant from Battle Garage graciously lent us his time to basically a starting base map setup, and we actually got this thing to start and idle. As you can see, that map still needs a little bit of work. We're not anywhere close yet, but it was really great to see that this thing, after so much hard work, finally running and idling. So now that I would say it's 99% buttoned up, why don't we talk about a few things. Idle air control valve we got from Panic. Someone via Instagram DM wanted me to explain how we ran the idle air control valve. So in short, when the engine needs to idle up, this guy will turn on and introduce extra air into the engine to let it idle up. In this instance, we have a three-way T that tees into the brake booster line. I believe Dr. Garage actually tees in right here to the PCV. I thought it would look a little cleaner if we tucked the T back here. If you have ITBs, I believe you have to run a vacuum block, and the line from the idle air control will run to your vacuum block. So another crankcase line. This line normally goes into the intake. Again, with this swap, our goal was to basically get a minimum viable product. I had to reiterate to the owner, every time the owner wanted to buy this new special shiny thing, like all the JSP stuff on here, I had to kind of reiterate that our number one goal was to get the engine in and running. This may change at some point, but again, in and running was our goal. Wire harness comes to us via Bermuda Wire. He's local to us in the Bay Area. Got this wire harness done really quickly. It looks really professional. All this stuff's labeled. I have 3 pages of pinouts and wiring diagram that he included. So yeah, absolutely great. And yeah, obviously it works, right? A few troubles I ran into, getting your grounds correct. So I would say my electrical knowledge isn't up to par to where it should be. I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that, but it is what it is. So fortunately, Bermuda Wire gave us some guidance on how to wire this guy up. So if you look, both of our engine harness grounds, he told us ground to the engine. I have a chassis grounded from the intake manifold to the firewall, so that's engine to chassis. And then if we come over on this side, ground that I absolutely forgot about that was absolutely necessary. If you look at this down here, this purple wire, I forgot to ground the engine block to the chassis, and then not only ground the engine block to the chassis, but I have one more from here, from the chassis to battery negative, which essentially grounds the engine block directly to the battery. Ground's absolutely necessary. Completely skipped my mind. We were having some backfeeding problems, like I was getting 12 volts at some of the grounds inside the chassis because I didn't ground the engine correctly. So yeah, beware. So this beam swap coil rad, pretty slick. Got a, from factory, has a 1/8 NPT port. The customer requested to run a AEM water temp gauge, so I'll show you that inside the car, but here's the sensor provision. When Grant was on the laptop, we got to see the fan turn on and off. So yeah, I'm happy with this single fan from Excessive. I had to diagnose some existing electrical gremlins with the car. You guys who have owned multiple Corollas or one really bad Corolla know that sometimes a unskilled hand works on the wiring, so I had to undo and repair a lot of unskilled stuff. One of the things to help me in diagnosis, a fuse box sticker was missing. You can get this lovely run-free fuse box sticker from Battle Garage. Absolutely lovely, because now I could see what amps the fuses were instead of having to guess. Interesting. So again, you guys who follow us on Instagram Live for when Grant got this car to start, we could see it fire every time, and then slowly it would peter out and die. Well, what the hell? So funny enough, the customer bought us pizza, so all of us too busy eating pizza should actually have been watching the fuel pressure gauge. And so we come here, every time I would notice when the car was cranking, it'd stay at 60, and then once the car started to idle, it would like peter out and die, and I could see the fuel pressure drop. Well, we found out there was, and again, I'm not the standalone expert, but there was an output where the fuel pump was only on in the start position, where we actually needed it in start and run. So basically, again, not the expert, but needed to change one of the outputs so that the fuel pump would run in the run position. And that's basically what got the car to start and idle. Evap canister, we still got to figure out. You cannot plug in the evap canister in the factory way because there's no way for it to vent and purge, do what it's supposed to, relieve the gas tank pressure. So we still need to figure out the evap canister. Cool, so obviously we're really close, right? If we want to check out, we got a water temp air fuel sensor hooked up to the headers I made. This air fuel sensor also goes directly to the link ECU. So yeah, got these two guys wired up. The owner really wants to keep his cigarette lighter. I'm not sure if he smokes or not, or if he's using it for extra stuff, but we're gonna make a custom mount to mount this guy somewhere. Beautiful reverse lockout shifter from JSP. Can't get over this thing. I don't know if he wants to run his, where's that boot? I don't know if he wants to run his Crown Royal liquor boot over this thing. I think last time he was here, he was saying like how pretty this shifter was and he wanted the world to see it. Crown Royal is also very pretty. All right, what else do we have in here? Yeah, that's about it. We soldered in the resistor for the tack. I wasn't sitting in here, so I don't know if the tack works yet, but our buddy Bermuda Wire says sometimes that tack resistor doesn't work and we may need to run a tack adapter. I certainly hope not. That's a lot more money and work. So yeah, it's official. It starts and runs. We still got a lot of tuning work to work out. You know, knock on wood, all the fluids are in it. No leaks so far, which is absolutely excellent. Some things I would probably do ahead of time before taking it to your tuner. Before I even had Grant sit on the laptop, I cranked this thing over and over and watch the fuel pressure because we actually had to fix a few fuel leaks that if you just brought this to the tuner would have been an absolute waste of time. So there was one fitting on the fuel filter that I didn't tighten down all the way. We actually had a problem, injector number 2 on the fuel rail. This O-ring kept on getting cut, and basically what I found was looking inside the fuel rail, there was corrosion in there, probably from, you know, sitting at the importer or wherever this engine sat at. So just getting some Scotch-Brite, cleaning out the corrosion, washing it out, lubricating the O-ring, and yeah, that was it. But yeah, that was my first experience. I put 2 O-rings on that and I was like, why does this thing keep leaking? So yeah, next steps. This thing needs a real exhaust because if you guys saw in the previous videos, there's a janky piece of crap catback welded to the car right now. Absolutely can't go to the tuner like that. I think when Grant comes back, he's gonna clean up the tune a little bit so that at least this thing can start, idle, rev, and then drive up on the tow truck so that it's ready to go to the tuner. I think the dual VVTI, or the dual variable valve timing, was not so intuitive to figure out. So in the interim, Grant was saying just to disconnect these guys and so the engine will run without the variable valve timing, and we'll let the tuner figure that one out. But yeah, overall, absolutely exciting to see this thing run and idle. Again, after all the work we put into it, plenty of headaches and bugs to figure out. As popular as the beam swap is, I feel like a lot of it isn't documented, and that's why I really wanted to document this process, what we had to go through, the mistakes I made, maybe some wrong assumptions that I made, so that you know, you guys hopefully don't have to run into those issues. Yeah, thanks again for tagging along. Definitely a lot more work, even after the tune gets sorted, to get the car sorted to be a proper drift car. Look forward to what comes next in the beam swap series. Appreciate all the support, you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Leave something in the comments. If you feel like I'm an electrical hack, please leave that in the comments too. Catch you guys next time.